Have you ever been on a date that actually felt good? The conversation clicked. There was real chemistry. They texted you the next day, saying they had an amazing time, and instead of feeling excited, you felt this strange discomfort. So you took forever to reply. You started noticing little flaws, or you suddenly pulled back and created distance without even knowing exactly why. If that sounds familiar, you're not just unlucky in dating. What's often happening is avoidant attachment quietly sabotaging your chances at connection, long before things ever have a real chance to grow. Avoidant attachment is a way of relating that develops very early in life. As children, we observe how the adults around us handle emotions and closeness. When emotions, especially vulnerable or difficult ones, are met with rejection, dismissal, emotional unavailability, or simply no response at all, the child learns a powerful survival lesson. It's safer not to need anyone too much. It's safer not to feel too deeply. Over time, the brain becomes incredibly skilled at pushing emotions and attachment needs out of awareness. That's why many people with avoidant attachment look back and say they had a perfectly fine, or even great, childhood. On the surface, physical needs were met. Maybe academic success was supported, but the emotional world was often left unseen or unwelcome. Emotional neglect isn't always loud. Sometimes it's simply what didn't happen. Because emotions were rarely practiced or welcomed, they start to feel foreign and threatening in adulthood. Closeness stops feeling safe, and that old protective system stays active, especially in dating, where vulnerability is almost impossible to avoid. Here's how it actually plays out in modern dating. You match with someone promising. The first few dates feel surprisingly good. But as soon as things start to deepen, maybe they show real interest, or the conversation turns more personal, something inside you shifts. You begin to withdraw. You take longer to respond to texts. You keep things light and surface level, even though part of you wants more. Some people start testing the other person by pulling away, just to see if they'll chase. Others suddenly notice red flags that weren't there before, nitpicking small things, overanalyzing innocent comments, or convincing themselves that this won't work anyway. You might shut down emotionally when the date tries to connect on a deeper level. Instead of opening up, you change the subject, get defensive, or mentally prepare for the ending long before anything has actually gone wrong. Even in situations where the other person is consistent, kind, and clearly interested, you interpret neutral behavior as rejection or pressure. The closer they get, the stronger the urge to create distance becomes, through ghosting, slow fading, picking random fights, or simply convincing yourself you're not ready or they're too much. It feels like self-protection, but in reality, it's pushing away the very connection you crave. So why does this keep happening? At its core, avoidant attachment is driven by deep fears that were wired in early on. The fear of vulnerability, the fear of being abandoned or overwhelmed by closeness, and often a quiet sense of unworthiness, the feeling that you don't fully deserve consistent, healthy love. When love starts to feel real and safe, it actually feels unsafe to your nervous system because it's unfamiliar. So the system does what it was trained to do. It deactivates. It excludes emotions. It creates distance to stay in control. There's a powerful truth that captures this perfectly. We accept the love we think we deserve, and we sabotage the love we don't feel worthy of. This pattern isn't about not wanting love. It's about having learned that closeness leads to pain, whether that's rejection, emotional neglect, or losing yourself. So the brain chooses the familiar discomfort of distance over the terrifying possibility of real intimacy. The hidden cost in dating is enormous. You meet people who could be great for you, but the pattern quietly ends things before they ever really begin. You stay in the loop of almost relationships, situationships, and it just didn't work out stories, all while wondering why you keep attracting the wrong people or why good ones slip away. Becoming aware of this pattern is the first and most powerful step. When you start to see why you pull away, why closeness feels threatening, and where that response originally came from, you create space between the old impulse and your actual choices. You're not broken. You're running an old survival program that once made sense, but no longer serves the kind of connection you want now. Let's go a little deeper into how this pattern often unfolds across different stages of dating, because understanding the timeline can make it even clearer why it feels so automatic. In the early stages, the talking phase or first few dates, it might show up as keeping conversations fun and light, but never letting them go too deep. You might joke around, flirt, and seem engaged, but as soon as someone shares something personal or asks about your feelings, you deflect with humor or change the subject. It feels natural to you, but it quietly prevents real emotional intimacy from forming. Then comes the middle stage, when things start getting more consistent. Maybe you've been seeing each other for a few weeks and it's going well. This is often where the strongest pull away happens. The other person begins to show genuine care. Perhaps they remember small details about you or want to make plans further ahead. Suddenly, your mind starts racing with worst case scenarios. What if they see the real me and leave? Or, this feels too good. It can't last. That's the avoidant system kicking in to regain control. You might start creating small conflicts, become less responsive, or convince yourself there's something wrong with them. Many people describe it as an internal alarm going off the moment safety starts to feel real. Even in longer situationships or almost relationships, the pattern continues. You stay involved just enough to not be alone, but never fully commit. You enjoy the connection on your terms, when it's convenient and not too vulnerable. But the moment it demands more emotional presence, you withdraw. Over time, this creates a painful cycle. You crave closeness, but every time it gets close enough to matter, you sabotage it, then feel the emptiness afterward, and wonder why dating feels so exhausting and disappointing. Another important layer is how avoidant attachment often pairs with high-achieving personalities. Many people who struggle with this are successful in their careers, organized, independent, and admired by others. From the outside, it looks like they have it all together. But inside, the same traits that help them succeed professionally, emotional self-reliance, problem-solving without needing support, keeping things under control, become the very things that block romantic connection. They've learned to survive by not needing anyone, but now that strategy is costing them the deep love they actually long for. It's also worth recognizing that this isn't just commitment issues or being too picky. Those are surface-level explanations. At its root, it's a nervous system that learned very early that depending on others for emotional safety was unreliable or even dangerous. So it adapted by building strong internal walls. Those walls protected you as a child, but in adulthood, they keep out the very experiences that could heal you. The more you understand this, the more compassion you can have for yourself when the urge to pull away appears. It's not a character flaw, it's an old learned response. And simply noticing it, catching yourself in the moment when you start to distance or overanalyze, is already a huge shift. Awareness creates a small pause, and in that pause, you have a choice. Follow the old pattern or try something different, even if it feels uncomfortable at first.